Hey, welcome. Pull up a chair, have a seat. Let's talk a little bit about Necropolis and the League in general, and then just my opinions, some things about it. I don't want to beat people in the head with the same thing that everybody else is talking about. We will talk about it, but it'll be short and sweet, I think, compared to most. I also wanted to kind of end it with a few like ideas I want to throw out. I just like to get opinions of anybody that stumbles across the video and says, hey, I agree with that, or, maybe it would work better this way, or something like that. So I want to kind of not talk a little candidly about that kind of stuff. First off, we already know that the UI, like just simple things like this, and then the map device having two missing because it's the different column and rows. I don't know what they did there. There's also this dude here, 64 and 88 plots. We all know. I even made a clip video like within the first week or two of this league. Yeah, it's ridiculous that happened. I truly hope that GGG or Grinding Gear did not do this on purpose to sell more stash tabs. I really hope that's not a thing, but it could be. I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. I hope they didn't do this on purpose to get people to buy more stash tabs. I'm in solo self-found right now. This is my solo self-found character, and here is 2 full and then a quarter full of another one. Here's my Parandus. I'm missing 1 Parandus. This is going to be an issue I'm going to bring up here now. And if I type in minion, I got a couple of minions. And this is after a week of playing and using barely any of them. Here's Gem, and that's just one of them. 2, 3. Gem is also a rarity. This was not a friendly league when it came to the crafting and solo self-found. Harvest did it way better. There's too many things that are rare that I didn't understand why. Gem and Minion being the two most are the biggest culprits. Resistance Scarcer was also another one for some reason. I tried to make a lot of crafts, but it was always I had everything in abundance, but then I was missing multiple 1,000% of any of the things that I just showed you. So it was a very unfriendly league. I'm sure people over time, especially 2 months in, but again, I just started playing about a week and a half ago on this solo self-found, and it's averaged out to nothing. I haven't been able to make any of those crafts. I could try my best to make some, but it would be very unlikely. It would be very rare. Fracture is another thing that can kind of supplement that, but as you can see, I don't even have any right now. Additional, I think I might have 1. I don't even have 1. So like I can look here and see if he's got any of them. There's an additional there. Don't see. I think Fracture is usually at the top, so I don't see Fracture or anything like that. So yeah, not good. Not good in my opinion. On top of that, the UI in the graveyard itself, let's go to the graveyard real quick, is non-existent. I get the fun little bestiary style thing that's over here. Cool, I can see all the corpses laying out. They're actually just laying out on the tables. Kind of creepy, but that's the vibe that this game gives off anyway. But having to go through and click every single one, and then yeah, there should have been I should be able to press V or something like that and just bring up an overlay that could have let me put all the things in. Even if you look at the map, you can see some stuff is planted, but that only shows you the corpse type. Doesn't show you what it is or anything like that. So again, this was very bare bones. The idea, the premise, sure, it was okay. It let people make broken ass crafts. Some crazy stuff came out of this league, which is where I'm pretty sure leads me to the next point. I'm not expecting Necropolis to see the light of day. It's just not going to go anywhere. It's like Harvest and some other leagues as well. However, we saw how Harvest was made to be functional in the game. At first, if you remember, Harvest was you went in whenever you found the grove, and then it would be just a randomly generated set of plots, and you could pick, one of two of every pair up to 4, and they would show you all the crafts. And it was all random, so it was just like really luck if you got like the jackpot, like white sockets or linking something or add remove, stuff like that. And then they watered it down to be more controllable by the player, and then it's got watered down to the point where we got all the crafts and you just go get the juice, but a lot of the crazy crafts and a lot of the crazy options are gone, and that's just the way it was. It got watered down to that point. This is the same way. Unless they do something where you walk in here and it's just a random generated amount of corpses and what they are, but even then, it's just so many variables. It would just be a mess. You'd come in here and be like, cool, I have a sloppy version of everything. I got 500% plus fire and then negative 600% fire. What am I making here? There'd be way too much work to make that to tweak that. The clunkiness of the actual collecting of the corpses has also been mentioned many times. It's a sloppy mess. We don't want that. You don't want that shit blocking everything. Hell, I get annoyed sometimes when I'm doing altars and an altar pops up like Eater or Shape or not Eater, Elder, but Eater or Exarch, and it's got mods that I'm like, whoa, I don't want this, or it's like bad for my build or whatever the case may be, and I have to ignore it. It's just still there, but at least it kind of disappears and allows you to pick stuff up. The UI for the corpses, they didn't do anything. It was a pain. We know that there was a lot of fixes and changes at the very beginning of the league, which also showed another problem with this. Something that's been kind of common in many years now, where we get some crazy ideas or some good ideas, and it just doesn't pan out, and it's like they never test anything. But we know they do. I don't want to point at them and say that it's their fault. They're just making a game, and they're making 2 right now. 3 technically, if you count the. I'm sure they're still working on the phone version of the game. So I get it. So I don't want to rag too much on that. I just think this was very sloppy. I also don't know if they believe that people weren't going to fill the entire plot up and try to min-max these builds and these crafts. I don't know. But there was definitely some purpose in the way they made this, because they even made it so that right here, there's 2 missing plots here. There's a missing plot here because this is in the way. There's a couple missing plots here because this is in the way. It's like they did things on purpose. Like this, there's missing plots here, and it's just because of the entrance. This little entrance over here, it goes all the way over to here. I don't know. They did it on purpose. They made it 88, and then had 64 from him. There's something mathematically weird here, and I don't know why. But anyway, I digress. I would call this a middling league. I don't think it was absolute garbage, but I don't think it was great either. I think it was one of the worst leagues we've had in a while. And it doesn't have longevity on any front. There's nothing about it I can see going forward. They even made last league, which was another busted, but for farming purposes, league, and they were able to add Wisp to the scarabs and to the tree and the Atlas tree. I do like the idea that they did this. This is definitely good going forward. They've given ourselves these sections here, each corner, and they've given it the ability for them to say, okay, new league, and then change those nodes to be something else. They can make them a different shape or whatever the case may be, but they can now implement the league into the Atlas tree, but even that is kind of wonky the way they did it. There's not a lot of explanation of how some of these work. It took a while to learn. Then there's some things like I don't know anybody that used this node at all, because it just randomizes everything. So, but at least this is a thought out thing that's implemented, and I can see it going forward as these will be the nodes for next league as well. Cool. All Flames. Fun fact, if you didn't pay attention to this, but All Flames have been in the game since like vanilla, but beta, whatever you want to call it. Because when you go here, Ship Graveyard, you have to get an All Flame to give to Fairgraves. So All Flames aren't going away, everyone. But I don't foresee All Flames staying in the game either. This is another kind of odd thing where you start up a map and then you're forced to do the mechanic. I don't understand. That was another, I think somebody had mentioned that as well. Why have nodes on here, but yet you're still forcing us to do the mechanic? If anything, they should have added one extra node here or here to allow us to cancel the mechanic and not have to do it. But they didn't bother to do that, and then they force you to do it throughout the campaign, which, by the way, wasn't nearly as severe. It wasn't like Arch Nemesis where you were dying to overpowered Roas in the second in the mud flats or something like that. But it's still kind of weird how they did that. But again, everything I'm saying now, people have covered already. There's plenty of videos out there of people talking about all this stuff. And the fact that the All Flames are just kind of like a Legacy League thing, that just you get to add stuff in. Cool. I mean, that was fun. I can see them doing similar stuff like that when they do leagues, because if this league was just the crafting portion of it, it would have been, people would have left this league even earlier than they did. And then the amount of changing, like I said, the patches and all that stuff, adding stuff in the first month of the league, that was really strange. And then the fact that they kept gatekeeping whenever different streamers would come up with a farming process or something, that was beneficial to them, and then they would kneecap them and take it away. That was weird, but it was also, some of those things were kind of obvious and probably should have been looked at. The craziest thing being the 6-link, 2x3 shields, and anything that was 2x3 that was normally 3-link, getting made into 6 links. That was absolutely busted, and I'm glad that they fixed that right away. But it was that was such a weird thing for them to miss, and that is another thing that kind of concerns me about the leagues and the leagues going forward, is if they miss stuff like that, what are they really focusing on when they do this stuff? I get it, they're focusing on, they got a lot of people working on Path of Exile 2, but even that, we don't know anything about that yet. People have played it, people have seen it, they put out clips once in a while, but right now it looks like a better graphically updated PoE 1. It looks very slow, it looks very sluggish. It looks good. I'm not going to downplay it too much, because right now it doesn't appeal to me. But it's going to be better than some of the other slop that we've got out there. Either way, that was my take on the league. But I wanted to bring up some stuff that I feel like could be tweaked. There's some UI things that I think would be a nice fix or cleanup, and some mechanics that I'm thinking are kind of should be looked into. I think there's some mechanics that should go away soon. They've already kind of given reason to get rid of it. Legion is one of those. I like Legion. I like the Legion mechanic. I like going in and doing the 4 or 5 ways. But they've already removed one of the main reasons you even did at least one, and that was the opening up your 5th socket on the map device. They buried it behind T17s. And let's talk about T17s. I guess we'll talk about that too. That was another problem with the league too. They implemented a huge endgame change to the game. It didn't really pan out well. Some people love T17s, but I think the vast majority do not. And I think the problem with that is that T17s some of them have modifiers, and some of them are so difficult that they're worse than the Uber bosses you're trying to get. And then on top of that, you have to chaos spam them just to get them, try to get them to roll well. And then you have to run numerous to get even one attempt at an Uber boss. When it used to be just selectable on the Atlas tree, that's a huge shift. That's a massive shift. And then some of these mods, some of these things take builds that require gear that you're going to have to buy from people who got lucky and did a different build and was able to do the T17s. What I'm saying is it shoehorns some people too. People knew how difficult Ubers were. There was, let's say there was 10 builds that could do, I know there were more, but let's just say there was 10 builds that could do Uber bosses really well. Well, those 10 builds, only 5 of them can do T17s well enough to be able to consciously or consistently do T17s. So now they're just trying to get currency so that the other 5 can do the T17s and then do the Ubers and then start throwing the Uber loot on the marketplace. And then some of these builds could do T17s when they have that gear. It's weird dynamic here, and I don't think T17s are balanced correctly to be a stepping stone to Uber bosses. T17s to me, maybe, and this is probably controversial to somebody, I honestly think T17s are harder than Uber bosses. And I think T17s feel more like they should have been implemented as a transitional period between Uber bosses and some sort of like mass endgame, 40 wave simulacrums, Uber blights, fights with the Uber Elder fight where it's now Elder, Shaper, and Cirrus. Like that seems like the transitional point. Something was really off. But it's a brand new thing, brand new concept. So hopefully they can do work and work on it. I know why they came up with the bosses that they did, because I remember numerous podcasts that mentioned, hey, what about Uber? What the guy? I can't remember the guy's name. The big boss from Expedition. What about Uber version of him? I think that's where they got a lot of the ideas of who they were going to put as bosses at the end of these. There's plenty of characters in the game that they can make new Uber bosses. Hell, they could even make a betrayal Uber boss where you have to fight not just not Katarina, but the actual like betrayal characters, and like have them a little more defined and a little more more mechanics than their regular counterparts. There's a whole slew of things they could do. They could have tons of T17 maps, make them a little less rare, and then I don't get the 5 tokens to open up the Ubers. I think that needs to come down. Even for like 3 might have been a little more balanced, but the amount of Uber tokens you need and then the amount of Ubers there are, I think there's just too much. And then it kind of burns you out. It doesn't make you feel good. When I was able to do T17s on Trade League, I just got really burnt out. I didn't want to do those maps all the time. And I didn't want to sit in my hideout rolling maps constantly. I think, and here's where I'll go. This is probably a better way to transition into the ideas that I have. Maybe make T17s have implicits. And those implicits are 2 implicits, and those 2 implicits are the special kind of modifiers. And those modifiers can be changed with things like maybe blessed orbs or something like that. And then make the rest of the map no different than a T16. You could maybe do something, make sure that people aren't running them white or blue or whatever, but still, let us be able to control crafting the rest of it and go, okay, here's the 2 big modifiers. I can't do this one. This is Cirrus puddles or whatever, and they need to be more customizable, I think. And then I think not necessarily toned down. I think if you were able to customize them better, it wouldn't be nearly as tedious and it wouldn't be as problematic as, you know, I don't think they need to be too watered down. I don't think they need to be nerfed or anything. I just think they need to be more controllable. That's really what I'm getting at. But let's go into some ideas here. I wanted to bring up one thing in game while I'm here, and that is the map stash, or the stash tab. Now we know the stash tab, the stash tabs. There's really not much I wanted to mention here, except for one thing. One thing, and most people should know this, is if you have a whole bunch of stash tabs and you want to bring one to the front, so all the way to the top, you could right-click it and it'll go all the way to the top. There we go. It's right there at the top. But if I want to put it anywhere else, I got to drag it. Kind of defeats the purpose. Why? This is just, again, why not make it so I can move them here? Why can't we just move the stash tabs here? I would just open this up every league, and I'd go whoop, 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 right-click it, create new folder, pull a couple into the folders, bing, bang, boom, takes no time, and I don't understand why not. Why can't that be a thing? I think that'd be a good idea. Let us drag and drop our maps, or our stash tabs over here. Number 2. Engineering orbs. Why are they still in the game? Why? Why? Engineering orbs could probably do with an overhaul, as in either remove them, which I don't think that's going to happen, but maybe change what they do. My idea is, especially for a solo southbound player, sometimes you want to build this, even though we have 3, sometimes you want to build it a certain way, and then maybe you want to change it. Oh, you know what? I'm done. I don't need lockboxes anymore, or I want to get rid of ritual. I'm done, bored of ritual. I want to do this, and I have sets that I need to keep because maybe that one's a bossing one, like I have here. This is a bossing one. You know, make engineering orbs be like a one and done, like an Uber, or like you got sextants and then you got awakened sextants. Make them more rare, but make them like a full reset of one Atlas tree. You can engineer your end game. So I don't know. It was a suggestion, just again another idea. But yeah, engineering orbs could be, you know, high or upgraded versions of unmaking orbs, or orbs of unmaking, I guess they're called. So yeah, that was just another thing. Some of the leagues, like I was saying before, could use some love. I think Legion feels like it's on its way out. Maybe I'm wrong. But another thing about Legion is maybe push it further into the campaign. It was cool that they added some cool like secrets, like the side zones in the jail and what have you. But they put Legion in Act 1 very early. You're not gonna get much out of it. I don't see how that's really teaching anybody anything. It's like, cool, you just showed me that my level 6 character is very underpowered to be able to kill more than a couple, mobs in this Legion. Maybe put Legion a little later in the campaign. Maybe after Act 5. I think that would probably be nice. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but at least make it later where people have a better chance of actually being okay at good at, the ability to do it. Man, I had a list of things that I wanted to talk about, and I lost it because my computer reset before I saved the document. I think the only other thing I can think of is, unique maps. I think another thing that would be a cool thing in the near future to see is, can we get an overhaul of some of these maps? And like, some of these maps are terrible. And to be quite frank, almost every single unique map in the game is literally just an Atlas passive point. That's all it is. You do it, and then you get your passive point, And then by the end of the league, you have 100 of these things because nobody wants to do this map. You might do these at most because there's a little bit of rare or specialized loot for that, but very rarely. Nobody wants to do dunes to do this. This is a terrible map. Coward's Trial, I guess some people like the high level, I think it's like a eye level 100 unique at the end, but very rare you're going to get anything. It's just a random world unique. The only real unique maps that people even do after their initial one are the synthesized maps. Here is the last thing I wanted to say about some changes I wish I could see in the future, and that is synthesis maps, because synthesis is a league that you watered down when it very heavily, because it's nowhere near like it used to be. Obviously it's nowhere near like the original league was, but you watered down this later on. This got destroyed. In fact, it's almost pointless to even take these, even if you're trying to farm some of the maps, because there's nothing here. Why was the Synthesis League added to the game? Why were we given 5 unique maps, and then you gave us one single cluster here, which used to be really good, and then nerf it down to being completely useless? Why can't we get back to being able to farm synthesized and fractured items in synthesis maps? I get there in a lot of other league mechanics, but what's the problem with having a dedicated way of farming this stuff? Because it wasn't like it was that... I'm sure the market for synthesized maps went up back when that was a thing, but like, I'd like to be able to do a synth map and actually have 5 to 10 random synthesized items. Most of them are crap, but it's nice to see, and there's always that chance you get that frenzy ring or that belt with % int or whatever the case may be. That's what, like, you're not getting rid of synthesis. Can we get synthesis to get its identity back? I think that would be cool. Hell, you could even take some of the points. So there's got to be a cluster around here that's kind of garbage, and then give us another synthesis set of nodes. Why not? So I think that personally is one of the things that I really want to see the most in the future, is some love given to synthesis. Again, other than that, I know I had a couple other points I wanted to make, but I think this is good enough. This video is probably way too long. But I'd love to hear anybody's opinion. Pop them down below. Talk about what your experiences were with the league. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What did you think about the ideas that I threw out? What ideas do you have? What kind of things do you wish would be implemented into the game? Or do you agree with anything that I was talking about, or disagree? Please, I want to hear some criticism. I want to hear some valid points. I just want to converse, because right now I am extremely bored with this game, and I've been streaming X-Defiant, and I'm an old man, so I look like a goober trying to shoot people, running around in a game that's probably way too fast-paced for me, but I do it anyway. And I want to still talk about this game, because honestly, Path of Exile is the best current ARPG on the market. I think Torchlight, I don't know why people don't keep sleeping on that. I hope they do some work on the UI. I really hope they do something with that game. That game deserves way more love than it gets. I'd love to see more people playing it. And hell, I think a lot of the PoE streamers and YouTubers and people that play PoE, just in general, would love that as a secondary option for both a league that's not delivering or doing very well like this one was after about a month and a half, or they just want something different. They want something similar but different. I think Torchlight is I think it's the close second to this game. Well, maybe not close second, but it's a second, maybe a little out there in the distance. It's in the meadow. Like you'd say hi to it, and you can say hi back to PoE. But I think that's I think that's the best way of comparing them. Again, same thing. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you had at least some fun with this league, and I really, really hope that next league they can clean some stuff up and bring things back down to earth a little bit, because we could use a palate cleanser after this one. So again, thanks a lot. Check me out on stream. I stream damn near every day over on Twitch. Yeah. Take it easy.